Namaste students, I am Dr. Shubhada Deshpande from Vikas College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Vikhroli, which is affiliated to University of Mumbai. I welcome you all to this video lecture on process of communication. It's a pleasure speaking to you all through this video tutorial project of IDOL, University of Mumbai. You must have watched the initial video by Dr. Preeti Oza Madam introducing you to the concept of communication, what it means, and the different models of communication. So I'm sure by now it must have been clear to you all what we mean by the word communication. Now in this video lecture, we are going to discuss how communication takes place as a process. When we say that it is an interpersonal activity, there are two individuals involved in the process of communication. Let us look at this diagram that gives a clear picture of how communication works as a process. The one who transmits, shares, or makes common the ideas that he or she has and wants to share, and the other with whom it is shared. We thus have a sender and a receiver as the main components in this process of communication. To make it simple, let us say here in this video, it's a communication in which I, your teacher, am the sender and you all viewers are the receivers. What I'm sharing here is the content, the ideas regarding how the process of communication works. So those ideas become the message. As the sender, thus, I am sending the message to you all who are the receivers. We all are aware that ideas are abstract and do not have any shape, and one cannot show what kind of idea he or she has. To make these ideas common or to share, one needs to give them a form. Simply as you need an envelope to cover a document which you want to send to someone by post or courier. These ideas need to be enveloped or wrapped in some form, which in this process we call medium. Unless you have a medium, you cannot share your ideas, thoughts, emotions, or feelings, what we call as the content of a message. And in human communication, we use the medium of language, whichever language it may be, but it is language that is the medium that we use in human communication. Now, when we say we use language as a medium, we need to know that a language is a code. What is a code? A code is a set of symbols. We are familiar with the STD code, which is a set of symbolic numbers which stand for different cities and places. For example, we know that 022 stands for Mumbai or 020 stands for Pune. Similarly, language is full of such symbols, which we call words. Why are these words to be called symbols? Because every word stands for or symbolizes an abstract idea. For example, a word like pen will stand for or will symbolize an object which is used to create some permanent marks on a paper, and which is a small pipe-like straight object filled with either ink or a refill tube, which acts to create the impression on a paper. Or any other word you can take as an example of this. It stands for some idea that is abstract. Unless you have this word, you cannot signify or even make the receiver identify what you are talking of. So, the language thus is a set of symbols and a code. When the sender uses this code as a medium, what he or she needs to do is to put the idea into this code. When you choose specific symbols from this code, naturally your ideas take the shape and themselves become or get converted to the code or a part of the code. They are no more ideas now, as you have converted them to the code. So, this process of wrapping your ideas into the code is thus known as encoding, because you have made these ideas a code themselves. Encoding thus takes place at the sender's level because the sender shares the ideas. But there is a condition. As a sender, you cannot use any code. The code used has to be understandable to the receiver. The receiver needs to be familiar with the code. Very simply, I am talking to you in English because it is assumed that all of you up to your 12th standard have learned and thus are well acquainted with this language. Considering it as a familiar and understandable medium, therefore, I am speaking to you all in English and not in any other unfamiliar language like Chinese or Russian. So, once the medium is familiar and the receiver knows how to read or interpret it, he or she is supposed to unwrap or to open the message or idea that is sent in the envelope of this code or what we call as language. He or she opens it and is able to understand, which means the receiver breaks the codes and gets the idea out of this code. So this process at the receiver's end is known as decoding, because the receiver removes the idea that has been coded or encoded by the sender. But here the process is not complete yet. It can be called the completion of the process when similar such process takes place in the reverse direction. That is, when understanding the message, the receiver sends a response back to the sender, which is an acknowledgement on the receiver's part. This is called feedback. Feedback is the final and an important aspect of the process of communication, without which the process remains incomplete. We will have a separate session on how feedback is an important factor in the process of communication. So, once the receiver sends the feedback to the sender as an acknowledgement, the cyclical process of communication is said to be complete. I hope this has made the idea of communication clear to you as a process. Thank you.